But the reality of Jeff Bezos is much different. That's why we invite into the stream Brad Stone. He's the author of Amazon Unbound. You've seen the movie because I see the smile. He's also the author a few years back, 10 years ago, of The Everything Store. So Amazon Unbound picks up where I guess you left off. And this really is a remarkable company. It's not just, as Max was saying, the legacy with the labor force and what it means for us as consumers, but look what they did with AWS. We talk so much about retail, but their future is the cloud, right?
Well, that's right. In part, I mean, one of the things that's so interesting about Amazon, one of the reasons why I've written 2 books about it, is it's such a complex company and the legacy is so multifaceted. So Max is right. There's been a remarkable impact on the quality and quantity of labor in this country, but the company has also changed the way we shop, changed the way we read. As you note, Amazon Web Services is powering Amazon's bottom line right now. It's a division run until now by Andy Jassy, the new CEO, that in the past 15 years has reached a $50 billion annual run rate. It's remarkable. If it was an independent company, we would be singing its praises. And so, yeah, the impact that Bezos has had as CEO, not just on one industry, not just on one market, it's really been multidimensional.
Brad, what about going forward? Do you expect any major strategic or operational shifts as a result of Andy Jassy at the helm?
There's already one shift that's happening before our eyes, and that is, I think that Jassy wants to run a company that at least seems a little bit humbler and friendlier. And so yesterday they added 2 new leadership values to the kind of sacrosanct leadership principles that employees at Amazon can recite in their sleep. And it was all about having a positive impact and leading with empathy. Now, these were not words that you really would have heard Bezos speak, particularly in the early days. I think Amazon and Jassy, and probably Bezos too, are aware that the way they've been conducting business now for a company worth $1.7 trillion is, it no longer works. And with the eyes of the world on this company, they have to move forward with more modesty. And we saw Max referenced Bezos' last shareholder letter, talking about how he wants to become the world's best employer. Again, not the way that Bezos has really run the company for the first 27 years. So I think under Jassy, maybe we see Amazon begin to address some of these longstanding criticisms about the workplace culture, the way they treat their employees, the way that they treat their partners, and some of the impacts of its dominance and scale.
Words are cheap. I'm thinking Google, don't be evil. And I think some people would say, well, that worked out, right? But regarding Amazon, when you speak to insiders there, how seriously do they take the threat from the FTC that, they're in the sights to be broken up?
I think they take it seriously, but I think there's a confidence there that maybe the political consensus against big tech around wanting to break up Amazon, at least they view as being not existential for Amazon. So let me tell you what I'm talking about here. This week, the FTC lost a case in front of a judge against Facebook. And the judge made an argument that the FTC hadn't properly clarified the market definition around Facebook's monopoly. Well, I think at Amazon, there's a confidence there that really, it's difficult to define a market where Amazon has a clear monopoly. AWS, which we talked about, has 40% of a fast-growing market. Amazon is a small percentage of overall retail. It's about 40 or 45% of e-commerce in the United States. So I think there's a confidence, or at least an assumption there, that while there's a political will, the government's going to have a hard time demonstrating that Amazon has a monopoly, even whether it abuses it. And, whether that's overconfidence or not, we'll see. But I think, the history, the case against Microsoft, it does demonstrate that these cases are harder to win than they are to kind of talk about in the popular press.
Brad, there's been talk about how Jeff has been phasing out of this position now for a little bit. I guess from your view, how different of a CEO has he been for the past couple of years compared to what he was like, say, 10 or 15 years ago?
It's a dramatic shift. And of course, it has to be because the company is so diversified. It's doing so many different things. So Bezos really in the past few years has let his accomplished deputies run the larger businesses like AWS and retail. And he's gotten involved in the new products and projects like Alexa and the Go Store, the healthcare initiatives and the satellites that they want to launch. And every so often he dips back in and he kind of makes everyone's life miserable as he changes direction on things like headcount growth and whatnot. But by and large, he's let the deputies run their divisions autonomously. So in some respects, this CEO changeover on Monday isn't all that big of a change. He'll be around as executive chairman. He says he wants to continue to work on the new things. I think he'll be distracted by going to space and running his philanthropy and being on his extravagant luxury yacht that I report about in the book. But otherwise, I think, the deputies, folks like Jassy and Jeff Blackburn, who runs Prime Video, Dave Clark, who now runs retail, are just going to have a lot of leeway and autonomy, which increasingly they've been enjoying for the past few years.
Brad, very quickly, what happens on July 20th if the unthinkable happens with the Blue Origin launch and Mr. Bezos is no longer able to be the executive chairman?
Well, we're now deep into, a hypothetical. Amazon suffers because it no longer has the founder who is able to wield a brand of magic, part inspiration, part intimidation, that allows the company to do really difficult things. I tell that story in the book about Prime Day and Alexa, how these things wouldn't have happened if Bezos wasn't behind it. So if and when that Jeff is no longer around, Amazon doesn't have the advantage of his ability to see around corners and motivate employees to break through the bureaucracy.
Want to let everyone know that your book, Amazon Unbound, Jeff Bezos and the Invention of a Global Empire, it's been out since May. You can get it on Amazon, and not for $30. It's a discount. I don't know if your publisher is going to like this. They're selling it for $18.99. So, Brad, we appreciate your being here. We wish you all the best.